Hey guys, it's after 1 in the morning where I am, but I had a few minutes, so I thought that I would Q&A video live because for some reason my video maker will not let me make a video with sound if I do it in this format. For some reason, I tried Googling a solution, but for some reason, none of the solutions would work for me. And maybe I'm just illiterate in this area, but I don't know what the issue is. So even though I made the video already, I'm gonna just do it again for you guys. And if I make any mistakes, then I do apologize in advance. But here we go with the questions, which it's too bright. It won't let me. Okay. Um, Yes, I thank you, TCAT. I know it's 1 in the morning. It's actually one where I am now too. My parents are out of town, and my brother's in his room, and he's still playing his video games. So yeah. All right. So the first question is, what is your favorite Harry Potter character? And now that is a toss-up. I will be very honest with you. That is a toss-up, first of all, between Hermione, obviously, and I will give you the reason. Hermione, because she embodies so much of who I am. When I was in my teenage years, I was always spouting off weird information to the point where my peers would look at me like, why aren't you watching Glee? Why aren't you watching Gossip Girl? And it's like, I don't want to watch a bunch of mundane teenagers who have nothing in common with me. And it's just, no, I always had my nose in a book, that sort of thing. And then the other one would be Ginny, because my first love was someone that I could never have. So Hermione and Ginny answer to question one. Question two, what made me start making YouTube videos? Honestly, I give this answer to so many things in my life. The honest answer is for one thing, I was bored. I was totally bored, and I saw a lot of other videos on here, and I thought, that doesn't look so hard. Maybe I could give it a shot. So, I just thought it was funny. Oh, you like that? You like Jenny too, T-Cat? That's cool. I think that's awesome when I have things in common with random people. So yeah, again, I was just really bored, and I thought that the editing process was a fascinating thing. And I think as I delve deeper into that world, I think my editing has gotten a lot better since I first started posting. So that's good. What Hogwarts house am I in? Well, it's Pottermore approved, so I can say this in good faith. I'm in Gryffindor. I thought I was in Gryffindor for years, and when I took the BuzzFeed quiz and I took all these other quizzes, they all said Gryffindor. I got a couple Ravenclaws, in the testing process, but then when I finally made my Pottermore account, it assigned me to Gryffindor. And I'll also say that my Ilvermorny house, my pronunciation is very good, but that's Horned Serpent, which I think is weird. So I'm like this weird Gryffindor Slytherin hybrid type thing, but I don't really have a lot in common with people in Slytherin. And both my parents are Ravenclaws. I will say that. And my stepdad's a Hufflepuff, and my brother, I'm gonna say he's a Slytherin. I'm just gonna say that. And what else? Oh, my Patronus is a Calico Cat. I will say that. I can say that. Would I ever do a collaboration video with someone random? I'm gonna say yes. I'd like to hear about other ideas that they might have, what they might bring to the table, and how we can work together. I'm mainly saying yes because I had a very negative experience on here once where I saw this girl's videos. I'm not going to name names. That would mean going back in my inbox on here, which I can never figure out how to do, and trying to find the username, which again I'm not going to do. But let's just say that I told her I really liked your videos, and this was before I even posted really anything on here, so I wasn't really well known at all. So I basically said, "Hey, I like your videos." She was a singer in the videos, and I sing too. I was trained in voice lessons when I was a teenager. I'm not a teenager anymore, but I just essentially said, "Hey, I love your work." I was saying hypothetically, I think that our voices would mesh really well together. And she comes back to me with, you're not my friend. You never will be my friend. I only do collaborations with friends. And I just remember thinking, dude, I am a stranger and I don't want anything to do with you anymore. So I've never watched another one of her videos. Let's just leave it at she was really mean. Do I prefer Hermione or Drummione? Definitely Hermione. And my reasoning behind that is that J.K. Rowling has said that Draco and Hermione wouldn't work, and I'm inclined to agree, not just because they're her characters, but because of the fact that he has a lot of demons, I think, inside him. And demons are, I think his behavior is a learned behavior. So it's not all his fault. But the fact of the matter is, he said some pretty unforgivable things. I think that mudblood is their term for our N word. And I'm just going to put it at that. And he's a really complex individual. I'm glad he found someone. I'm glad he got married. I'm glad he had a child. But no, I don't think they would be good together. How do I make a YouTube video? Okay, so I have this system. It's called Microsoft Movie Maker or just Movie Maker. And essentially what I do is I download the audio of a song, and then I actually have all 8 movies downloaded. I was about to say 7. Okay, I have all 8 movies downloaded, and then I have very specific clips that are downloaded. And so essentially what I do is I sync up the scenes in the movies to the audio on the system. And if you just want to download Movie Maker or Microsoft Movie Maker and download the videos and the audio for the songs you want, the setup is pretty easy. So once you download the system, you're able to figure it out. I was. And I'm incompetent most of the time. What object in my house do I love the most? Now that's a toss-up. I actually have one here. I am on my bed right now. So this is one. This is my blanket that I have had since the 90s when I was born. I was born in the mid-90s. I was born in July of 94 in Seattle. And the first 3 days of my life were over 100 degrees. And yeah, this was in my nursery. My nursery was Beatrix Potter themed. And that's like Peter Rabbit, stuff like that. Ironically, you need to look up Beatrix Potter. Funnily enough, she and I have the same birthday, except she's like over 200 years older than me. But my favorite story of hers was Taylor of Gloucester. I'm really into British literature. That's just something you need to know about me and Britain in general, essentially. And so this, my baby blanket, one of my objects, I always travel with her. The only time I did not travel with her was when I went to Mexico a couple years ago for Christmas as a whole family reunion type thing. And I just didn't have enough room in my suitcase. We were only allowed one carry-on and one suitcase to check. That was my family rule. And then my other thing, it would be kind of a pain to show it, and I don't know how but I literally have a shelf in my room where I have over 24 Russian nesting dolls. And for those of you who don't know what they are, they're essentially those dolls that are painted, and they have, the face and everything, and they're, elaborately painted pattern. They're gorgeous things. And they are from Russia. They are indeed from Russia. And essentially, in the old days, people didn't really write down stories because not a lot of people knew how to write, and people who usually told stories were commoners. And so commoners were never really given that opportunity to learn how to read and write. So they told stories orally, but some of them knew how to paint. And essentially what they did with the dolls is they painted the stories on the dolls. And the more you open them, the smaller the dolls get, obviously. And it's another component or character of the story. Fascinating. So yeah, whenever I go to an antique store, I always have to see if they have one. I become an expert at finding them. It gets really competitive. Trying to find where I was. Okay, so my next question is Kiss, Marry, Kill, Albus Dumbledore, Sirius Black, and Dobby. Okay. I'm gonna marry Sirius. I always had a mad crush on him. I think the whole, tortured thing is kind of hot. Not that kind of tortured, but I thought Gary Oldman was gorgeous. So I'm gonna marry Sirius. I'll kiss Dumbledore, but on the cheek because he's gay, and I don't, I have no problem with that, but I don't want to, and I'd feel really safe doing that. And I would kill Dobby, but Chamber of Secrets movie Dobby, because no matter what he said, he did almost commit murder on a 12-year-old child. And he was really annoying. And that high-pitched voice. And I did I did kind of enjoy it when Harry said he was going to strangle him. So technically half the job is already done. Let's see. What emoji do I use the most? I'd have to say, it's so cliche, but I'd have to say the heart emoji. I don't use emojis a lot, but I'm a very affectionate person. So whenever I, talk to my friends or my close friends, it's always love you, and I send them a heart. And my dad, he's hilarious. For years, he would always say things like, oh, I don't want a smartphone. I don't want this and that. He literally did not he has an iPhone. And it's the same smartphone he's had. He has like the first generation iPhone. He literally did not get that until, I'd have to say, like 5 years ago, he got that iPhone. And before that, he had like this flip phone. It was hilarious. And he married someone who was close to my age. So that's how we got into it. And so we send each other heart emojis a lot, my dad and I. If I was a Horcrux, which one would I be? That is a really good question. I think that we have elements of all three Horcruxes in all of us. And so it's like, I mean, there's a lot of times where I want to be invisible. And so, certain things have happened in my life where I embarrass myself or embarrass others. And I just think, oops, I need to get out of here. I need to disappear. So in that, I'd say the invisibility cloak. And then for the resurrection stone, it's actually quite sad. I have 3 grandparents. Both my grandmothers and my father's father are deceased. So I'd want the resurrection stone to bring them back, just to like touch base with them and be like, hey, we didn't really know each other. I just want to have a talk with you because you had relationships with my cousins, and I just want that one moment with you. So that, and gosh, where's my head? It's like, it was Resurrection Stone. I keep forgetting that I'm live and I can't just go back and edit this. So Stone Cloak, and just gonna casually check Google here. Oh. Oh, it was Horcrux. I am exhausted. I've gotten like no sleep recently. I'm totally messing this up. Okay. Horcrux. I would definitely say I'm the diary because I'm a writer. And I think we all wish we had this object that we could touch base with, even if it was this soul eating type thing. So I'll go with that. What was my reaction when I saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them for the first time? I liked it a lot. I could even go so far as to say I love the film. It's a beautiful piece of filmmaking. Not a lot of complaints. I enjoyed the secondary characters a lot. I think the whole execution chamber, I thought that was pretty cool. How it was like a floating electric chair type thing. That was pretty cool. Do I ship Newtina as in Newt Scamander, and then Tina Goldstein? Yes, I do. Because spoiler alert, they get married. But that's not just because of that. I like the fact that she was all feisty with him at first, kind of like Hermione was with Ron. And yeah, I just kind of enjoyed that element. And it wasn't until the end of the movie that she was kind of like, okay, you're kind of cool. So we get a lot of stuff to build on. If I had to be a Hogwarts professor, which one would I be? I kind of answered this already. I said Snape, but in female form without the Slytherin part, because I'm already in love with someone I can't have, which is a true statement. I am in love with someone I can't have. What movie would I watch over and over again without getting tired of it? Now, this is really hard. I mean, obviously all the Harry Potter films, I couldn't get tired of those, except for, and I know I might get some hate for this because a lot of fans say that this is the best one. I did not like Prisoner of Azkaban at all. I just didn't. I thought it was way too fast paced. And I mean, when you get a film that's directed by one particular director, because the guy who directed the first 2, he's mainly into family movies, and I can kind of understand that they wanted to break away from that mold a little bit and kind of make them more mature. I can understand and I respect that. But they were just, it didn't give enough character development for certain things. I mean, they didn't really dwell on the whole Marauders thing. Lupin didn't get an opportunity to explain that. So I think if that had been explained, that would have been way better. So I guess, movies that I could watch and not get tired of. Um, I like Moonrise Kingdom by Wes Anderson. I thought that was very well done. I like Wes Anderson a lot. I like Mean Girls too. I thought that was pretty funny. Not the remake. Never watch a sequel that's straight to DVD and was shown on ABC Family, because that was kind of pathetic. Let me see. What is my favorite book? My favorite book is, other than the Harry Potter series, obviously. I find myself going back to the final book and just looking at it now and again. My favorite book is The Other Boleyn Girl by Philippa Gregory. I'm really into British history. And I actually wrote to Philippa Gregory when I was in the 8th grade. So 10 years ago now. And thank you, Colin, for that. And the heart. That's really sweet of you. Oh, I like that. Um, and um, and so I wrote to her, and I didn't expect anything. I essentially said, "Hey, I'm 13 years old. I'm American. Please don't hold that against me. I love your work," and that was essentially it. And she wrote back to me a couple weeks later and essentially said, keep doing what you're doing, keep writing. And I said, I'm interested in history a lot more now because of your work. And she said, just keep writing, ignore the haters, and you'll get through it. And she was pretty much right. um, what's my actual nickname? My actual nickname, this is kind of embarrassing. My parents, when I was born, like I said, it was 3 days record heat, over 100 degrees in Seattle. My parents got this gift basket. I believe it was from my father's boss, and it had like fruit and meat. I think there was like a sausage, like a sausage salami in there, or something, and it had this fruit in it. And I remember, and my mom said that there was this peach, and it was the same size as my head. So she and my dad called me Peach for years. They still call me that. And then there's, the whole sweetheart, honey, baby. Both my parents call me baby, even though I'm the older of the two children. I have 2 older brothers, but they're my stepdad's kids. But my stepdad calls me his daughter. So, what's the first thing I ever wrote? Now this question's slightly embarrassing. I used to write stories on my dad's computer, and I'll bet if he went and he looked in the documents, he'd be wondering what the hell. So I was glad when I got my own computer. The first thing I ever wrote, like seriously, it was after I'd taken a creative writing class in the 7th grade, and then that summer I was like, I'm gonna write a book, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know really anything about the subject. Started writing something about Joan of Arc, and it literally was like, it was kind of like the show Reign with Mary Queen of Scots, like people parading around in prom dresses. And I think I took some dialogue from Legally Blonde at one point. It was just terrible. I'm like getting like horrific flashbacks of me, trying to make this sound sincere, and it's like, dude, she's gonna be burned at the stake at the end. Have some respect. How many days could I last in solitary confinement, and how could I do it? Now that is a really good question. There are days when I just stay in my house, just working all day, and well, I obviously have to leave my room, but I've stayed in my house for days and weeks on end, so that's not really an issue. But I think a solitary confinement means being confined to my room. So probably being confined to one space, probably a good 12 hours, and then I'd have to use the bathroom. Um, but if I had access to that, I would probably use the bathroom and then start wailing pretty loudly because I would get hungry, obviously. But if I could just push past that, I could do it for a few days, and I could do it because I'm sure like it would be like a crisis situation, and I would probably have my phone stolen and my laptop stolen, which would just be awful. But I'd have to say I could do it by reading. If they let me have books, I could do that. I never read. Actually have a Kindle somewhere, and I've never used it. I much prefer. I actually wrote a poem about how you need to hold books now and again because it's a comfort. Do I save old cards and letters? Yes. Ever since um I wrote to my fourth grade teacher. We wrote letters to each other because after fourth grade, she got married and she moved, and so she couldn't teach us for fifth grade. And so I missed her terribly. So we were writing to each other. She actually wrote to me to tell me she was getting married, and I was happy for her, but I was, kind of sucked. She was the best teacher I had in a while. And I used to like tear the letters in half because one half would have like a cute little picture of an animal. We loved animals. And then I realized years down the line, oh, that sucks. I wish I saved the letters. So I started saving letters probably in the sixth grade. And they were mainly from my mother's father because he would send me like birthday cards and stuff. But now I save cards for everybody. And what I do is I tuck them in between the books on my shelf. Yeah, so that's the answer to that. What's my strongest sense? And if I had to give one up, which one would it be? My strongest sense is hearing. My dad's a musician, and I got his ears for some reason. And these babies, it's crazy. It's crazy how much you can pick up. There's like radar in them or something. But if I had to give up one sense, it would probably be taste, because then I could just have green juices all the time and not taste them and just try to live a healthier lifestyle. So that's for that. What animal scares me the most? Well, they're not really animals, they're more like insects. I'm just like Ron. I cannot stand spiders. They scare the living crap out of me. And I just, whenever I go, I get petrified like Hermione did. And I literally go to my brother's room and I'm just like, 911, there's something in there. And he has to take care of it for me. I'm a huge baby when it comes to spiders. Who's the most famous person I've ever met? It would either I barely remember either of them because I was a baby, but I met Janet Leigh, and for those of you who don't know who she is, she was in the original Alfred Hitchcock film Psycho. She's the woman who gets stabbed in the shower. I met her at a book signing. My dad knew her. They worked together once, and she immediately grabbed me when she saw that I was there, and she took me in her arms, and she was holding me, while she was signing the books. And I was a biter, and I bit her on the hand, and she was very understanding about it, thankfully, because she had kids. But my mom wrote in my calendar that day that I got my first taste of stardom. So thanks for that, Mom. And then the other person was the singer James Taylor. He did a concert with my dad in the mid 90s. My mom was pregnant with my brother at the time, and I was just a baby. I wasn't even 2 yet. And he was supposed to go out in the intermission of the concert and kind of greet people and be like, "Hi, how are you?" sort of thing. But he found out that I was in the dressing room, so he came back. And my mom said that he was literally like mid-changed. Like he was in his like long button-down shirt and his long socks, and he wasn't wearing any pants. But he had boxers on, which was good. And he came over to me and he was just kneeling in front of me and he was playing with my toes and he was just singing with me. So I can legitimately say that I bit Janet Leigh and James Taylor sang to me. I can legitimately say that. What position do I sleep in? Well, it's kind of weird. I don't want to know how to describe it. It's like once I get the room dark. The room has to be dark and it has to be quiet. I can say that. I roll over to my right side and I have to be a certain way, like elevated on the pillow. And so I'm basically like on my right side and I have to be able to breathe. And so yeah, that's essentially it. Excuse me. How difficult is it for me to forgive someone who refuses to apologize? It would really have to do with what you did to give me an apology. Like if you accidentally, bumped into me, if you do something that's genuinely an accident and I can tell that you're really sorry, I'll pretty much forgive you instantly. I'm not that kind of person, but I remember I had a situation with this girl. I had to switch schools when I was in the third grade. My mom got remarried and we were in a different school district because we got a bigger house. So I had to move to this other school. And there was this girl and she was in my class, third, fourth, and fifth grade. We went to the same middle school after that, but we never had a class together, which was huge relief. But we usually had the same lunch, so she could still see me. And she never liked me. And from third grade till eighth grade, she tormented me. And she was just really, really mean. And no matter what I did, she wouldn't stop. I even tried to report her once. This was like in 4th grade. I went to the counselor and I said, look, I can't take this anymore. She's not being nice. And the counselor essentially said, girl's name is from a broken home and it wouldn't do any good to, do anything about her. And I remember I got in the counselor's face, and I never did this, but I got in her face and I essentially said, what do you mean she's from a broken home? And she said, well, her parents are divorced. And I said, my parents are divorced. What's the issue? And she said, well, your mom got remarried and your dad got remarried, so you have a better home environment. It's like, dude, you're making excuses for her. But anyhow, when we graduated, we went to different high schools. And after a year, it was the summer after 9th grade, I messaged her on Facebook and I essentially said, what's up? And she was so nice. It was just like, are you kidding me? And she messaged me and she said, oh my God, how are you? And I, okay. And she said, I'm so glad you reached out. How have you been? And I was cordial, I was always polite. And then finally I said, look, I need to tell you the real reason why I reached out. The issue I'm having is, why are you being nice to me now? And why were you suddenly mean to me when you didn't even know me? And why did that behavior continue? And she essentially gave the cop-out response, which was, nobody liked you anyway, so I was just being with the in crowd. I'm thinking, wow, okay. So she never apologized. So that's a takeaway, I guess, somehow. To what extent do I trust people? Again, it's like, I try to remain neutral. When I first meet someone, it depends on, how I met them. Like if a mutual friend introduced us, then, I'm more inclined to trust you, because if I have a friend that knows you, then, that sort of thing. But if I like know that there's something sketchy about you, then I just automatically go in like, you have to earn my trust, that sort of thing. So I guess it really depends on who you are and what I know about you already. What's the best news I've ever received? That would have been in November of 2015, right before Thanksgiving, when I woke up for school and my mom called me a few minutes later, right when I was about to get ready, and I was in college in Seattle at that point. Now I go to college here. I'm in Port Townsend, by the way. And she said, your grandfather called. And I remember thinking, it's 8 a.m. when I would call. And she said, oh, it was last night. I said, okay. And she said, we're going to Mexico next year for Christmas, and he's paying for all of us. And we went the next year, it was December 2016, and it was the best vacation I'd ever been on. And it was a lot of fun. I got really close to my cousins again. I hadn't seen them in over 10 years, but I had talked to them online. Thank God for Facebook. And my favorite cousin, he proposed to his girlfriend on the boat, and I got to be privy to the information. So that was wonderful. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. The next question is, when do I find myself singing? The answer to that question, darlings, is I always do find myself singing. Which is true. When you're trained, you always you find the appropriate moment. I do it when I'm washing dishes if I'm not listening to something. I do it when I'm cooking, and I do it in the shower. We have this really cool guest bedroom in our house, and it's like in the back corner. So when you shut all the doors, nobody can hear you. So I sing in there. Yeah. When did I immediately click with someone I just met, and why was a long-term result? I clicked with someone I just met. It was the summer after my sophomore year of high school. Her boyfriend was 2 years older, I think, and it was freshman year. It was the summer after high school. And her boyfriend went to high school with me, and she went to a different high school. And I added her on Facebook, and we talked. And I essentially said, what's up? What's going on? And she wanted to get to know me before she added me back, which I understood. And we found out we had a lot in common. So we became best friends. and we were hanging out pretty much every day, and she acted too, so that was pretty cool. And then at the end of the summer, we went back to school. Everything, yeah, it was after freshman year. I'm remembering it clearly now. And when school started again, I saw her boyfriend around, and it was like, "Hi, how are you? Tell her hi for me," that sort of thing. Because we didn't get together a lot during the school year. She went to a private school, so her schedule was a bit different. And I don't know why this happened, but her boyfriend started giving me like special attention. And either I misunderstood or something, but I ended up thinking he was really cute. I never did anything about it though. I will go to my grave saying I never did anything. I never, approached him or anything, but he got a little inappropriate. And I think I should have prefaced it with that. Because, if I had said, it's on him a little bit too, maybe she wouldn't have cut me out of her life. And I explained, my side of it. And I was about to get to his side. But she just kind of cut me out of her life after that. And I was like, okay. And then we kind of hooked up again the next summer, and we talked a bit, and we were able to resolve it for a while. But then our boyfriend broke up with her. And then that's when the feelings came. So yeah, it was kind of all muddled together, and was it a long-term result? No, it didn't last long. Am I close with anyone now that I really disliked at first? Not really, because I pride myself on being a good judge of character, and if I really don't like you at first, then it's probably going to take a lot to like you down the line. So I as I've gotten older, I've tried to remain neutral. Hey girl, you're on here. Goody. Yeah. You're here. That's good. Now I can relax. But as to being close with someone that I really disliked at first, like I said, I think I'm a good judge of characters. So, no, I'm not really, no. I mean, have I had situations where I just meet someone and I come up with an opinion, and then 20 minutes later I think, oh God, I was wrong. Oh, of course. But, long term, no. My favorite TV show or series. Let's see. I love This Is Us, and I'm kind of annoyed that they ended the season in March, because I think you should end a series or a season, I should say, in May. But that's just me, because then you have a less waiting period. But if they want to do it that way, that's fine. I love the Fosters, and I cried my eyes out like a total baby when they had their official finale a couple weeks ago. I love Law and Order Special Victims Unit. And here's the plug. I write fan fiction for that. I wrote 3 volumes, and they're on my fan fiction website. And my fan fiction link is on my profile. It's on the header banner, I guess that's what you would call it. It's in my links. Yeah, and I've written a lot of other fan fiction. I'm trying to go through the TV schedule in my head. I like Mom, the sitcom with Anna Faris and Allison Janney. I think that's really funny. What else do I like? I like Modern Family. I think that's very funny. I love Mitch and Cam. They're hilarious. And then Jane the Virgin. Obviously, I think Jane's amazing. And then for cartoons, I like Family Guy, American Dad, and Bob's Burgers. And mainly, the reason why I like Family Guy is I can do an impression of Lois. It's kind of embarrassing, but whenever I tell people that, they say, do the impression! So I'm going to do it. You got to get the nasal working. Peter, what the hell do you think you're doing? You just said yes. What the phone? Yeah, I had to get that out there somehow. Favorite YouTube channels? They would have to be Cinema Sins, Screen Junkies, because they're honest trailers, Criminally Listed, which is a documentary type channel, and they do criminal cases under one set theme. When I took a year off from high school, my mom told me that I had to do like an independent study, and I had to pick something to study. So I chose criminal law, and I found out that we have 5 methods of execution in the United States. And there's actually a website dedicated to them, and there's a chart. And I live in Washington, which means we have the primary method of lethal injection. And let me just say this right now. If your state has the death penalty and it hasn't been outlawed, then it definitely has lethal injection at minimum. And then the other method we have is actually we can hang people legally. Last one wasn't done since the 90s, but yeah. And then my other two, I like BuzzFeed and BuzzFeed Blue, and I love Watch Mojo. Watch Mojo is like a guilty pleasure. And then Miss Mojo, the kind of sister channel, that's badass. Favorite authors would have to be Bubba Gregory because of the other Boleyn girl and all her Tudor history. I love Tudor history. I've been into it since I was 10. And then J.K. Rowling for Harry Potter, obviously. And then Kathy Glass. She writes, she's a foster carer and she's from England. And she writes about how certain children with certain issues come into her care. And I love her work. I've actually written to her as well, and she's very nice. Weird things that I know all about. Henry VIII and the Tudors, as mentioned earlier, I adore them. And then methods of execution in the United States. Although I do know that I think China is firing squad. Maybe that's some Asian country is firing squad. Am I better at writing or drawing? Now this is a sad story. Writing, because of how much experience I have with it. And then for the drawing part, this is the sad part. We had this new teacher in 5th grade, and he was just, I didn't learn a lot from him. I literally found out that New Hampshire was a state and that hiking was a hobby when he became my teacher. That's all I knew in 5th grade. That's all I found out from him. And essentially, he didn't believe, maybe if guys did it, it would be different, but he did not believe that women could multitask. And I've been able to do that since I was little. Not so much anymore. My brain's kind of fuzzy now. But I was able to do it when I was 10 years old, and I'd be drawing something and listening and drawing and listening. He literally came up to my desk one day, grabbed the drawing that I was doing, and he tore it up, and then he threw it in the trash can in front of people. And he was just a wacko, and I don't think he should have been around children. And then question 35 is favorite memory. I'm gonna say on the cruise to Mexico when I was 22. Yeah, when I was 22. So this was almost 2 years ago. My cousin and his fiance, I'm not sure if they were engaged yet because they got engaged on the boat. She and I, we entered a Disney trivia competition, and we just decided to do it spur of the moment. I found out about it last night. We got these activity brochures sent to our various cabins, and I found out about this. And I said, hey, we love Disney. Why don't we do it? So they said, cool. So we went and we did it. And we got to the final round, and we were given a bonus question. The bonus question was, what year was Steamboat Willie released? And the woman hosting it said, whoever gets the closest year gets the prize. And she announced what the other group said. And I literally remember leaning into my cousin and his fiance, and I was like, dude, we just won this. We totally won. And our prizes were totally lame. They were like, what are they called? They're like the hooks that you attach to something. And I think we actually got like a weight belt too, but the weight belt was black. My brother loves black things. So I'm like, dude, just take it. So I would have to say that's my favorite memory. Yeah. And we got through all the questions, and Ella is tired. So Ella's gonna end this while she still has her sanity. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave this up for whoever wants to see it. But if I get a lot of negative comments, which I haven't, I've gotten some great comments on this, great feedback for those of you who watched it. So I think I'm just did it spur of the moment, but now I'm exhausted. So I'm gonna sign off now. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Love ya.